Good morning, students. So today we continue with the same chapter, that is weathering the formation of soil. In the last class, I had given you a brief introduction about what is weathering and what are the different terms which are related to weathering and how the process goes about. Today we are going to learn in detail about what are the features of weathering. Now, weathering is basically of three types: mechanical, chemical, biological. So these are the three ways in which weathering takes place. It can be mechanical, we also call it physical; chemical, which means that the rocks break down due to chemical reactions and chemical processes; and biological, where human beings, animals and plants are responsible for the breakdown of rocks and ultimately leading to soil formation. So today we are going to learn each and every feature of the processes which occur to help the rocks to break down to form soil. So starting with mechanical or physical weathering. Mechanical weathering breaks down the rocks into smaller pieces and the composition of the mineral remains the same. That means the rocks which break down to form the soil will continue to have the same composition which the rocks had. Now, temperature plays a very important role in mechanical or physical weathering. In dry desert areas, there is extreme fluctuation of temperature. Now, this fluctuation is not only between day and night, but also during summer and winter. During the daytime, the rocks expand, and during the night, they contract. Now, this amount of contraction and expansion can lead the rock to break in different formation. So this which you see on your screen is known as exfoliation. Now, exfoliation normally occurs in those areas where there is a distinct dry and wet season, especially in the tropical areas. Here the rocks break just like the peeling of onions. Now, since rocks are poor conductors of heat, when they are containing homogeneous minerals, the outer layer expands during the daytime and contracts during the night. The outer layer peels off. You can see how this outer layer on top of the rock has been peeled off from the parent rock in the form of concentric shells, just like that of peeling off an onion. This type of mechanical weathering is known as exfoliation. Granular disintegration occurs especially in desert areas. In the desert areas where the temperature during the daytime is very hot and during the night, due to the fall of temperature to sometimes less than zero, the rocks tend to expand and contract. They expand and contract in a very short interval of time, that is in one day itself. So in a clear and still night in a desert, people hear as if gunshots are being fired. Now these are not actually gunshots, these are the sound of the breaking up of the rocks. So coarse mineral grains form the rocks, and when these grains disintegrate, they form gravel or coarse sand. In the higher latitudes or in high mountainous areas, block disintegration due to frost action is a very common way of breaking the rocks. Now it so happens that water seeps into the cracks or fractures of rock. Now due to low temperature during the night, this water freezes, and frozen water increases in volume, and it exerts a lot of pressure on either side of the crack. This leads the rock to break in the future. So this repeated freezing and thawing, that is melting of the water, the cycle of freezing and thawing continues, and the rock ultimately breaks into blocks. So this is the real picture of a huge rock which has actually started to disintegrate into a block. That is, the cracks are vertical, almost vertical, and that leads to the breaking of the rocks into blocks. So we learn that how mechanical weathering occurs. So these are the ways in which mechanical weathering occurs. Let's now move to chemical weathering. Now chemical weathering takes place in the presence of water, and when chemical weathering occurs, the type of weathering is faster in very hot and humid regions. The materials that make up rocks or chemicals or chemical composition of minerals present in the rocks are changed due to the action of water. Solution, oxidation, hydration, and carbonation are the main processes of chemical weathering. So let us study in detail about all these processes. Now, as far as solution is concerned, it is the simplest process of chemical weathering. It works where rainwater reaches the ground and it is charged with some atmospheric gases. It dissolves the soluble minerals like sodium chloride present in the rocks, rock salt or gypsum, which are highly soluble. They get removed or washed away by solution. When the soluble minerals dissolve, the material that constitutes the rocks form a solution and are washed away by the rainwater, resulting in the breakup of the rocks. So we can see over here, large expanses of these rocks have been affected by the process of solution. Now, oxidation. This is another process or way of weathering, and it also involves chemicals in it. So let's see how. Now, certain minerals present in the rocks absorb atmospheric oxygen from the atmosphere. It is absorbing oxygen and it is also having a lot of moisture. So new chemical compounds are formed which are eroded easily by the rocks, and the rocks become weak. So moisture or water charged with a lot of oxygen, they fall in these areas containing rocks, and chemical compounds get formed which get easily eroded and the rocks become weak. So you can see in this particular picture that these rocks have become exposed because the outer or above layers of rocks have been dissolved or they have been removed due to erosion, and that has occurred due to oxidation. Many rocks have got some amount of mineral iron which absorb the atmospheric oxygen, and they turn into brown or red powdery mass. The agents of gradation erode the upper layer of the rock, and the upper layer of the rock, now they have been removed, so the lower layers cannot be protected. So ultimately they get disintegrated to form soil. Another chemical weathering is hydration. Hydration occurs when the minerals absorb a lot of water, and in doing so they all get swollen, that is, they swell up. The rocks, because they have absorbed a lot of water, they swell up. So the minerals which are found inside the rock, they become soft and begin to turn powdery. Due to this process, the rocks become weak and ultimately they lead to crumbling of the rocks. So you can see over here how this rock, which mainly consists of feldspar, mica, they have combined with water and have thus become swollen. They have swelled up and ultimately they break into sand and clay. Carbonation is another form of chemical weathering. Now this process takes place when minerals present in the rocks absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Sometimes the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere dissolves with rainwater and forms a weak carbonic acid that can easily dissolve limestone and chalk. You can see over here, this entire region is made up of limestone, and how water charged with carbon dioxide is gradually eating away the ceiling or the top of the layer of this rock. The water then seeps through and with calcium carbonate, it forms calcium bicarbonate, which dissolves in water and can wash away limestone very easily. So as this water seeps through, it begins to make several structures inside the lower layers of the limestone area. You can see stalactites and stalagmites, and here in the picture also you can see how the water has led to the formation of limestone structures inside the cave. That is, this part of the area which had already been eroded, and gradually as water seeps through the ceiling, it dissolves the limestone and begins to make pillars like structures, which are known as stalactite if they are originating from the ceiling, and if they are being added drop by drop from the ground and a pillar is being constructed, it is known as stalagmite. Here you can see they are coming from the ceiling, so these are stalactites and these are stalagmites. Acid rain plays a very important role, and this acid rain is mainly caused by industrial pollution. These acids, which are formed due to the pollution which is emitted in the form of sulfur dioxide, nitrogenous oxide and carbon dioxide, mix with the moisture and come down as weak acids, which is known as acid rain. Soil, plants, buildings, monuments, fishes, all these things get affected by acid rain. The world famous Taj Mahal is made up of marble and is affected by acid rain. So the government is trying to control the industrial pollution in the neighboring areas of Agra and to repair the damage which is caused by acid rain. So you can see the contrasting color of the Taj Mahal of what it was earlier and what is its color now. Now, biological weathering. That also plays a very important role in the disintegration of the rocks. Now, biological weathering refers to plants, animals, human beings. All of them are responsible in bringing about a breaking of the soil. Now let's see how. In the last class we have learnt, and now also we can see how the roots of the plant penetrate deep into the cracks in search of water and nutrients. Now these roots exert a lot of pressure on the surface of the rock, which results in widening and ultimately causing the rocks to break. Burrowing animals are also responsible for breaking of the soil. Earthworms, ants, rodents all contribute to the disintegration of rocks. Burrowing animals, they bring fresh material to the surface which will get weathered very easily and will ultimately turn into soil. So the loose rock material will get exposed and the agents of gradation will work on it, which will lead to the formation of soil very fast. Human activities like quarrying, mining, cultivation of land all contribute to the weathering of rocks. Blasting in the mountainous areas, construction of roads and buildings all disturb the rock strata which is found below the surface. So these are the processes which have led to the breaking up of the rocks, namely mechanical, chemical and biological. So we have studied now in detail about this process of formation of soil. In the classes which are to come, we will next deal with in detail about the different types of soil and how weathering is different from erosion. So for now, this is what we have enough time for. Thank you.